Hi, Steph. How's it going? How's me? Me's good. Me's doing well. Just sitting around waiting to play games about coffee and death. You know how it is. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad to hear that it's going well. That's nice. Hey, guys. How are you doing? I didn't stream last week, to answer your question. Game's still good. To be honest, you haven't been here in a couple weeks. You haven't missed anything because I was not able to stream for the past 2 weeks. Uh, what did happen? Things happened. We had a nice heart-to-heart with Ned Kelly. I don't remember the other details beyond that. We'll find out. Since we got some people here, and according to the clock on the wall, it is 5 past, or 6 past, let's get started. It's extreme. It's much more Australian than I was expecting it to be. I'm partially because I don't think I knew before I was playing it that it was made in Australia, but even then, it's very Australian, distinctly so. Even right. Let's see what's there to touch around here. Oh, funeral. I've been thinking, said Kashan. Uh-oh, said Maddie. About the people that I left behind, said Kashan. Well, I'm not going to see any of them again. One of them could be about to walk through that door, said Maddie. Don't taunt me with possibilities, said Kashan. You brought it up. Yeah, well, he slumped over in a funk. Death has a real finality to it, you know? Yeah, it does, said Maddie. That's death. Travel from life to death is a very one-way street for all but a few individuals, and if you're standing here, then it's a bit late for chess battles. I guess I'm thinking more about the fact that I'm not going to see any of my old friends again. Not as long as they're alive, anyway. That does tend to be how death works, said Maddie. I hope you're not surprised. Not surprised, said Kashan. But also, I wouldn't have been surprised if that wasn't the case, you know? Like, I'm pretty sure on at least one occasion I threatened people by saying, I will haunt you. And now that's never going to happen. Pity, said Maddie. You could have been someone's grudge ghost film. Guess what? Guess that one's confined to the annals of Japanese horror cinema. Hey, said Kashan. I was wondering, do you think there's any way for me to see what's going on at my funeral? Don't, said Maddie. All right, said Kashan. I just thought, it's kind of everyone's fantasy, right? To see what people have to say about them after they passed. Wouldn't you want to see what's going on at your own funeral? I think it's none of your business what goes on at your funeral, said Maddie. Really? Said Kashan. I mean, I think that's pretty common for people to plan their own funerals. At least if the go late enough that they can see it coming. That's funny stuff. I'd like to have my brother deliver a eulogy. Don't let them play any Barry Manilow songs. That sort of thing. Maddie blinked. Do you have a problem with Barry Manilow? No, I have no particular opinion on the man or his music, said Kashan. But a lot of people who are old enough to be playing their own funeral do. You can make your plans, but whatever unfolds at the funeral is up to those who attend it. Kashan blinked. What about the wishes of the dead? I thought you'd have a bit more sympathy for their interests, considering how often you interact with them. I care plenty of the dead, said Maddie. You were asking about funerals. Funerals are for the living, my friend. Kashan opened his mouth to respond, but cut himself short. I never thought about it that way. I'm not sure what to say. If you're short on words but high on energy, you can expend some of that energy by carrying this box upstairs, said Maddie, gently kicking a large cobra box that was resting underneath the counter. There's an alcove next to the bookshelf that would make a good home for this box. Kashan picked up the box, grateful for something to do with his hands. It was heavy enough that he had to make sure to lift with his legs and not with his back, but not so heavy that he felt out of breath by the time he reached the top of the stairs. His breathing was heavy, but not labored. It was a good feeling. Kashan set the box down at the spot Maddie had designated and sat down for a moment, waiting for his heart rate to return to normal. It felt good to feel his heart beating inside of his chest. This is how it feels to be alive, he thought to himself. Damn, I'm going to miss it. That was a good little short story. Let's see, what else is there to interact with around here? Another bench. Oh, ooh. Ooh. Ooh, can I go down here? Ooh, anime hot takes. What have I got today? Oh, let's see. What's been burbling around the anime sphere that I care about? See, that's the hard part, because there's plenty of opinions that I could have, but I don't really care. The dub for that Nagatoro show came out today. Good for the people working on it. I have no strong feelings on it one way or another. Enjoy this music while I try and think of a good hot take. I don't know, my fallback is always that the Netflix Death Note movie is pretty good, actually. Fine piece of B-movie cinema. Would happily watch on a Saturday night with friends with a beer. Anime streaming apps. Anime streaming apps are by and large nice. There's not quite too many of them, at least now. There's more than I'd like, maybe, but you know, there not being more than I'd like has other problems, like monopolies, and we don't like that. Yes, Real by Sleigh Bells is fun. I'm glad you liked it. Anyways, a teenage boy approached the counter. Shoulders slumped forward, head down, eyes on the ground up until the moment he looked up to order a drink. He was old enough that he could have passed for a young adult with a better presentation, but the posture, coupled with the oversized backpack he was wearing, were a dead giveaway. Irrespective of his age, he was still just a kid. Can I get a Coke? An order befitting a kid. Yeah, I think we can manage that, said Maddie. Think fast, said Shay. Maddie turned around just in time to see an aluminum can hurtling towards her. She almost caught it. The can rolled back towards Che, who scooped it off the floor. He hesitated a moment before setting it on the counter. No ice, right? Said Che. The boy nodded. No. Or, yeah, yes to no ice. Che cracked open the can and poured into a waiting glass, which he then slid down the counter, pushing it gently enough that it came to a rest in front of the teenage boy. The boy grabbed the glass. "Thanks," he said, and glanced around the room. "If you're looking for a place to sit, there should be plenty of seats upstairs." The boy nodded and headed for the stairs, drink in hand. "Plenty of seats down here, too," said Maddie, turning to Che. "Yeah," said Che, "but I think upstairs is more Tuan's pace." "What did you just call him?" "Tuan," said Che. "People have names, you know." "That's the problem with having regulars," said Maddie. "People expect you to remember their names." Though now that I think about it, Tuan probably wouldn't mind finding out that you don't know his name. Can't have your name on Maddie's shit list if she doesn't know it. "Would he be on my shit list?" said Maddie. "Nah, he's harmless," said Che. "Maybe a bit susceptible to peer pressure. But I think that's why he comes here." "To meet with peers?" "To meet with people who aren't his peers," said Che. "How many glum teenagers do you see around here?" "Too many," said Maddie. "Maybe not enough," said Che. "Please tell me you don't actually mean that," said Maddie. "Teenagers have the highest noise-to-spending ratio of any demographic." "Not the glum ones," said Che. "And if I were a glum teenager, trying to find my place in the world and trying to carve out an identity for myself, I can imagine a worse place to do it than right here." "Teenagers can go be glum somewhere else," said Maddie. "Whatever happened to proper teenage delinquency?" "Be careful what you wish for," said Che. "We've been mercifully delinquent-free for quite a while now." "Proper teen delinquents don't loiter in coffee shops," said Maddie. "They set things on fire, spray paint alleyways, and stay out past curfew." "Does the city have a curfew for minors?" "It should," said Maddie. "Teens need to be able to break rules, and all the better if committing acts of vandalism at 11 p.m. gives them a 2-for-1. "Maybe they should avoid delinquency and just stick to general mischief," said Che. "Oh no," said Maddie. "We already have plenty of mischief around here ever since Ashley set up shop." "Got it," said Che. "Next time I see Tuan, I'll tell him he needs to be committing more crimes." "What'll you do if he actually takes your advice?" "He won't," said Che. "Peer pressure only works if it's from a peer. Someone of my age telling him it'll be cool if he starts swiping liquor won't do much to assure him that becoming a thief is a ticket to popularity and acceptance. So find another teenager to tell him." "I'll keep my eye out," said Che. That was good. I like that. It was funny. Do-do-do. See what this is. Ah, my water is old. It's very still. Don't make any loud noises. "Hey, little guy, wanna play?" "Fetch." Oh, it's like my cat. "Maybe you'll have an easier time grabbing this." What else do we have here? He ran his hand along the shelf and found another object to throw. A flat, dull ring of metal. "Catch." The bot took its prize and left. "Oh, hey." She quickly broke eye contact and her eyes started scanning the floor, as if she was looking for something. Tuan, not wanting to bother the girl, turned back to the shelf. She had clearly come upstairs looking for something, and it wasn't a conversation with him. Still, she seemed interesting, and he kind of wanted to talk to her. But again, she wasn't taking the initiative, so neither was he. Her attention was directed towards the floor, not him. So he was surprised to hear her voice again. Nice kicks. "Hey." Yeah? I was just wondering, did you happen to see a ring up here? A ring? Like a... Oh, like a ring. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I took it off and left it here somewhere. No, I don't think I remember seeing a ring that looked like that. She hadn't actually described the ring to him, he realized. Are you sure? It's just a simple metal band, no fancy etching or anything. A metal band? No, like a Metallica kind of metal band. But, you know, like a piece of jewelry. Tuan expressed an urge to get into a, well, actually, argument about heavy rock versus metal, and which side of the divide Metallica fell on. Oh, no, it's me. You mean just a metal ring? Yeah, I'm just looking for a metal ring that looks like a metal ring. Kind of like a washer, right? But smooth? I guess? Tuan's blood ran cold as he recalled the object he'd happily surrendered to the robot just minutes earlier. Yeah, I think I saw something like that. There was a little bot up here playing with some metal objects this was for. One of them looked kind of like a ring. Oh, great, is it? Oh, you don't need to. It's no problem. I could swear it was right around here. It wasn't. Sorry, I think it may have run off with it. Oh, you don't need to apologize. I mean, it's not like it was your fault, right? Yeah, ha. He mentally cringed at the way he said ha-ha instead of laughing like a normal person. Well, thanks for checking. I'm going to see if I can find that bot. Awkward. It's me. I'm sorry? I mean, it's me that's going to help you find that ring. Oh, that's really not necessary. Tuan couldn't tell whether she was simply didn't want to impose or whether she really thought she didn't need his help. He decided to shoot his shot. I've got nothing better to do, and I know this place pretty well. You're new here, right? Let me lend you my limited knowledge of how this cafe is laid out. If it's not an imposition, I'm happy to help. Excuse me. To be honest, she was imposing a little. Then again, this situation was mostly his fault. Well, cool, I appreciate it. I don't think I got your name, by the way. I'm Tuan. I'm Hannah. Rainy day outside, rainy day outside. So does this ring of yours have any special significance? Special gift? Some kind of sentimental value? He hoped it wasn't. It's kind of a reminder of who I used to be. Back when I was going through my whole goth phase. I used to wear 10 rings every day, if you can believe it. Now I just have one. Hang on, goth phase? Yeah, you know, goth rings. It didn't last long, though. Turns out going full goth is super expensive. I guess I was drawn to the idea back when I had a brief obsession with death. I also wrote a lot of really bad poetry. Pretty cringe, eh? It's not that cringe. Can't judge a person by their poetry. And I was never a goth, but I've been to a few emo concerts in my time. Sure, but you go to emo concerts. But you go to emo concerts, so I'm not sure you're a good judge of what's cringe or not. I mean, the lion's share of bad poetry is definitely written by teenagers. Speaking from experience, eh? You got any old Tumblr blogs I can look up? Bet you reblog some real deep MCR gift sets. Don't worry, I'm not actually going to try and find it. You've got plenty of chances to embarrass yourself in real life. Keep the shameful posting hidden. Burn it if you must. I just don't think it's a bad thing to have written shitty poetry. The whole trying to find beauty in death thing feels pretty childish looking back. My emotions were turned up to 11 thanks to puberty. But I think there was more to it than that. I remember how it felt becoming an adult but not being treated like one, still stuck in the kid-friendly version of life. If you live out in the suburbs, everything is so sanitized, it feels fake. And teens run in the opposite direction of what's fake. We embrace the darkest thing we can find, which tends to be death. I guess as teenagers, we don't usually have to confront death. Tuan kept his voice low out of respect for the other patrons. He knew enough about the cafe to understand that not everyone was here to have deep conversations about death. Maybe not most. I guess you could say I'm an exception. You want to ask a question, don't you? But you're not sure if you're allowed. That's a big assumption. Am I wrong? I'll take that as a yes. Ellipses. I'll take your continued silence as further confirmation. Okay, you're not wrong. Don't you like living in the city, Lilac? Steph. I just don't want to make you uncomfortable. The feeling's mutual. You're not sure you're allowed to ask, and I'm not sure I'm allowed to tell. You're definitely allowed to tell. Sorry, I don't mean to sound pushy. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. You don't have to treat it like a question that needs answering. Not a question, more an invitation. Right. Oh, the music cut out. My mom was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 13. My father, typically, vanished as soon as he found out. I spent the next year dealing with crippling abandonment issues, not to mention the constant dread. There was more to the story, Tuan could tell. But this was Hannah's story to share if she wanted. That's heavy. Thanks for trusting me with it. It was a dark time. That stuff's all buried deep in the past now, never to be seen by anyone else ever again. Unless you count my old Tumblr, which I forgot the password to, so I guess that'll be out there forever. A monument to my shame. I think you could send a takedown request. The site has to honor it. I send a message to the blog, and if it doesn't respond, away it goes. I wasn't really looking for a solution to that problem. But your advice sounds pretty useful, actually. I might give it a shot. I'm really good at offering unsolicited assistance. For example, one time this girl came to me looking for a missing ring, and I told her I'd help her find it. Wow, cool. I hope the story ends with you actually helping her find it. I don't actually remember how the story ended. I think the big plot twist happened when we decided to study the bookshelf. Like the bookshelf we're standing in front of? Just so. Faces. Can we stop now? I appreciate the commitment to the bit, but the ring's not here. The bookshelves had a few notes and crannies a bot could hide in or hide a ring in. Are you sure it's okay to move stuff around like that? It's fine as long as you don't sneeze. Is it really that fragile? Oh yes. The shoebox ROG is not a plain known for its sturdiness. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I caught that. What's this thing called? The shoebox ROG, short for Rise Off Ground. It's a classic, capable of self-sustained indoor flight for up to 40 seconds. Don't tell me you know every model on these shelves. Nope, just the balsa wood airplanes. Zoom! When did you become such an expert? Summer camp? I guess preteen boys just find that kind of stuff fascinating. I sure did, and I'll carry that obsession to the grave. And there I was, worried I had missed out on something important by never going to summer camp. Actually, you kind of did. I'm sure the physics of a rubber band-powered airplane. No, I mean like the other stuff. Aw. I'm not a big fan of archery or netball either. You really think people will remember summer camp because they got to play with bows and arrows? I always figured learning how to fish or shoot an arrow was meant to be some kind of delightful experience. Sadly, it's something I never got to enjoy. The bows and arrows are probably the least interesting part of the archery station. The fun part is going to the archery station during your free time, running into a friend and saying, "Hey, I haven't seen you since breakfast." Breakfast is a really important part of the summer camp experience, huh? Well, yeah, it kinda is. We're all sharing breakfast at the same time in the same hall. You get to see everyone. To think, I could have been inviting my friends to breakfast this whole time. If only we'd arranged to meet at an archery station. The arranging is the part that misses the magic. It's, you know, serendipity. That's the good bit. Right, so you go to summer camp to have serendipitous encounters with your friends? No, I didn't know anyone the first time I went. And how did you serendipitously encounter all these friends? You just gotta make friends while you're there. Sounds like hard work, starting from square one. Actually, it's not. Crammed all together at summer camp, you fall into friendships like it's natural. You meet loads of kids, spend every waking moment with them, and then never see them again. And that's fun, knowing that you'll lose those friends when you eventually leave. Yeah. When you've only got a little time together, you really go all out making the most of that time. Anyways, doesn't look like the ring's here either. Good news is there's still plenty more ground to cover. That's good news? I prefer it if our search radiuses were a bit smaller. It'd be worse if we didn't have more places to look, right? If it's not here, no need to keep digging around. You're the first person I met who seems to see good in expiring relationships. I think part of me is afraid that all mine are temporary. The opposite of that is much worse. For example, when someone new moves into your neighborhood, it's like, oh, we should have them for dinner sometime. Sometime is meant to be next week, but then it turns into next month. And you keep putting it off until eventually you've spent years living next door to people you know nothing about. There wasn't a sense of urgency to the relationship, so it never evolved past how do you do's, you know? Like those people in your life who are always there, you take it for granted that they'll never leave and forget to enjoy the moments you have together. And then you wake up and they're gone. The best friendships I ever had were the ones with a built-in expiration date. You've thought about this a lot. Yeah, I guess I have. Is that why you enjoyed going to emo concerts? Sounds like a great opportunity to make a friend, spend a few hours with them, and then never see them again. It's kind of a one-time thing, really. I usually listen to music when I'm on my own. I still have the Fall Out Boy album I'd listen to every night while I cried in my pillow. Year 8 sucked. The music was that bad, huh? The lyrics made me feel the pain and futility of my own existence. A lot of early teenage years were filled with this sense that nothing meant anything. When I listened to that album, it felt like I was staring into the abyss. Music wasn't bad either. Oh, good. Because taking shots at Fall Out Boy is fighting words. But I'm still wondering, like, if the album made you feel like shit, why'd you keep coming back to it? I actually enjoy burying my face in my pillow and sobbing loudly as I'm overwhelmed by a creeping feeling of existential angst. I get that some people enjoy a good cry from time to time. I think you might enjoy existential angst a little too much. No, you misunderstand me. I said I enjoy burying my face into my pillow and loudly sobbing as I'm overwhelmed by a creeping feeling of existential angst. That's the name of the third track on the album. I genuinely can't tell if you're lying or not. Lying? Or simply bullshitting? I'm just trying to entertain. Then it's not really lying. Maybe parody or satire or plain old storytelling. Satire doesn't work if it's indistinguishable from the truth. That title isn't an obvious exaggeration. I'd expect that from them. What if I told you my favorite song of theirs was actually I'm Like a Lawyer with the ways I'm always trying to get you off? In my defense, Jackson, I'm not this into Fall Out Boy, but I am immensely enjoying this segment. I'm going to be very upfront with you. I'd assume you were trying to flirt with me because there's no way that's a real song. And you assume it's a flirting attempt. Why? Well, it's suggestive. If I had to describe it in one word, I'd say it's lewd. And if I told you my favorite Fall Out Boy song was Bang the Doldrums? Crude. I've got a dark alley and a bad idea that says you should shut your mouth. Rude. This ain't a scene, it's an arms race. Oh no, how many of these are real? That is a real Fall Out Boy song. Feud. Our lawyers made us change the name of the song so we wouldn't get sued. A+ out of 10. It's the best game I've ever played. Well, that's all there is to see in the mezzanine. No ring, no bot, so I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful. Don't be silly. You helped me check out all the little nooks and crannies. It's Fall Out Boy stuff. Fall Out Boy's important, don't you know? Besides, you kept me company. Frustrated searching becomes a heck of a lot more enjoyable when you're hanging out with an alright guy. Huh. Nice. Could be, yeah. That's a solid theory. You gonna come with, or are we done looking for now? What if we, and hear me out here, what if we did not do that and just looked from up here instead? I've done enough walking from now. You wanna sit down? Nah, sitting's overrated. I'm really into leaning against things. It's the new hip thing. You're terrible. Yeah, this place is pretty cool. It's alright. Interesting crowd down there, all types. Which, of course, means you've got that one guy sporting the blazer hoodie combo. Like, hey, look at me. I'm so cool, but also super chill. Wow, you're one of those guys, huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just dunk on your fashion power more? No, those kinds of guys can be real douchebags. But what if he wasn't? He wouldn't be wearing the blazer hoodie combo? Oh no, the blazer hoodie combo is something he has a deep sentimental attachment to. His father left him when he was young, leaving him only his grandfather to look up to as a father figure. When his grandfather tragically passed, Blazer Hoodie's older brother took that place. He loved his older brother, who ran track and was the coolest jock in town. The blazer was all he had left of his grandfather, and the hoodie was his brother's last gift before heading interstate for uni. But his brother was killed in a sudden car compactor accident that winter, and he never came home from uni. So whenever our boy finds himself feeling lonely, he puts on his grandpa's blazer and his brother's hoodie, and he goes out to drink to their memory. Have you been waiting to use that this whole time? Nah, I just like to think about people's inner lives. It's what I do on the tram. When everyone else is buried in their phones, I'm people watching. Damn. The only way I can get myself out of the house is by telling myself, nobody's watching, nobody cares, they're all in their own little worlds. And you? You have ruined my day, you brigand. I will never walk free again. They don't see you. They see whatever they want to project onto you. That guy down there? Maybe he is just a douchebag. All we have are our theories. And those reveal more about us than anyone else, don't you think? I have never thought a day in my life. I don't intend to start now. Clearly. Look, it's easy to play on stereotypes saying that guy dresses like a wanker. But where's the fun in that? People aren't always what they seem. It's like coming up with dark and macabre backstories. Just the worst stuff. Darker than the one you just told? Yeah, but don't worry about it. Come on, you wanna... No, I'm not going to. Sorry, it's one of my rules. Some people find healing in sharing dark thoughts, but I don't think I'm great at gauging what's good for me when sharing. I end up oversharing, then I spiral and spiral until I'm in a bad place. So, no stories for tonight. Are you wondering if you're allowed to tell? Because I think we're at the point where you shouldn't have to wait for me to ask. My rule isn't to protect the audience. It's to protect me. And buddy, we're still at the point where there are still questions I'm not going to answer. That doesn't mean I'm bothered by you asking. I mean, there are always going to be topics that aren't on the table. But you won't know until you ask. That's a good way to look at it. And here I was, worried I'd ruined the mood. I never shied from a somber mood. A mood gets dark and serious doesn't mean it's ruined. After all, some people like it dark. Yourself included? Hey, you can't have light without darkness, right? Sounds like a Fall Out Boy lyric to me. Good thinking, though. That's why I start every day with my hands in the toaster. The rest of the day feels amazing after that. I grew up north of Brisbane. Do you know what the weather is like there? Nope, but I do know that I like talking about the weather to get away from unpleasant topics. Checkers. It's downright tropical. Not a bad day in sight. Good weather all year round. Stormy days don't exist for the purpose of this conversation. Some days would be bloody gorgeous out, and I'd be going for a walk and see nobody out. Just a total ghost town. Sounds like a lame place to live. Yeah, kinda. Thing is, without bad weather, there are no good days. Every day is the same. It's boring. But here in Melbourne, nobody wanders a good day. After winter, we're clawing at the walls for a hint of sunshine. And that's your case for dark and melancholy conversation? I mean, if everything's at a 10, it might as well be at a 1. There's no scale. I think I'd be perfectly fine if I only ever saw the happy parts. It's a contradiction, isn't it? The people most obsessed with finding happiness always seem to be the most unhappy. Well, duh. They're so obsessed with pursuing happiness because they themselves don't have it. The opposite of happy isn't sad. I think it's emptiness, or a general lack of feeling. You know, comfortably numb. Like, clinical depression isn't just about being miserable all the time. You're not in a constant state of sadness, more like a constant state of nothing. Speaking from experience? That's a personal question. I was hoping for a personal answer. You don't get to wax philosophical about your emotions and suddenly clam up when I'm the one asking you about them. A medical condition goes a little beyond the realm of talking about emotions. Let's just say I'm no longer medicated for clinical depression. No longer as in you were at one point? Yeah, that was my extremely subtle implication. Great. Let's dance around the subject. I love that. Why make it easy? You really love talking, huh? Is that a complaint? Not at all. but it's just you don't come across as quite so outgoing. That wasn't always. What you're seeing is the result of an extensive self-inflicted deprogramming effort. That's funny. I guess I can kind of see it, but I didn't want to assume given that you're... It's okay, you can say Asian. If you're trying to deduce my childhood based on stereotypes of second-generation Asian kids, you're not far off. Growing up in a household where being well-behaved was synonymous with being quiet and out of the way, you tended to end up pretty meek. Huh. When you talk about Asian parents, I was thinking more about, like, academic achievement. Oh, you're not there either. Like many immigrant parents, they want their son to be more successful than they are. My mother was an MD and my father was an OD, and I'm still not quite sure what's supposed to be another level above that. Oof, sorry about your dad. No, doctor of optometry. It was a big disappointment to my mother's parents who were hoping their daughter would go through a ophthalmologist just instead. Wow, that's embarrassing. I know it sounds like I'm joking. My family is the strictest of the strict. Like, graduate second in your class, then have your mother tell you at graduation that you could have been first and you just hit the books a little bit harder strict. Dang, walking, talking stereotypes. How dare they? I've never dropped that shit on me. On our drives to her chemotherapy. Ah! Oof. Woof. I can't beat that. What, you mean you don't want to spend the rest of your day dwelling on the worst moments of your life? Come on, dredging up child traumas is everybody's favorite hobby. Where's your sense of the macabre? Usually I have to pay to dredge up my childhood traumas for something. Alright, I accept cash, card, and signed photos of Brendan Urie. Alternatively, we can just talk about happy things instead. How do you like cats? All cats are bastards. The other ACAB. I don't care for this one. Agreed. So much for happy thoughts. But they are happy thoughts. Cats may hate me, and I may hate them, but I like looking at them. That's probably my spiciest take. Tuan was enjoying the easy rapport he'd found with Hannah, something rare and precious. With that thought came the sudden sense of panic at the idea of losing this feeling, of losing... Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Felt a bit uneasy on my feet there for a second. This place, it kind of does a number on you. You can say that again. This place kind of does a number on you. It was a lie. The anxiety in his chest, clawing his lungs, wasn't an affliction brought on by his presence in the cafe. His fear of loss made him just like the rest of the patrons. I'm sorry I've wasted so much of your time. What? You don't have to apologize for that. If you're spending my time, then I guess I'm spending yours too. And for a moment, the two said nothing, simply enjoying each other's company. Hey, are you... Shh. Can you hear it? Hear it? Oh, there it is. Is this your ring? That's a nice shot. That's the one. That's also a nice shot. Great. Guess we're done here then. Yeah, great. I'll see you around. Sure, see you around. Tuan watched her go, regretting how quickly she dismissed her. His mind raced, searching for an excuse to call her back and continue their conversation. Was he meant to yell something like, "Hey, you got spaghetti on your sweater!" With every step she took, the warmth in him faded until she was gone and he was left empty and cold. Damn it. Come on. was a nice story. I like that. I hope we see more of the... Oh, okay. Guess we are seeing more of these two. Tuan loved darts. People were hard to understand, but a dartboard was simple. Circles and squares and a sharp little missile thrown barehanded by him, a self-proclaimed dartist. He honed his skills on school nights when his parents were too engrossed in their work to pay attention to him. It was a relatively quiet game when played skillfully, so it never made enough sound to draw their ire. What had started as a distraction was now a secret love. Secret because what self-respecting teenager plays darts? But he was not a self-respecting teenager. Not in the slightest. Yo! Hey, I haven't seen you since breakfast. Hey. You know, that would only make sense if we'd actually have breakfast together, right? Shut up. You some kind of chain-smoking dart hustler? I wish. So you're not going to teach me how to play? Nah, I'm not really any good. Dude, you just hit 2 bullseyes in a row. Yeah, that's the problem. Each segment of the board is worth a different number of points. You start with a fixed number, usually 501 or 301, and you throw darts and deduct the amounts from your number. The trick is, wow, all of my interest is gone instantly. How'd you get so good at that? Practice. That's the full extent of my darts knowledge anyway, so you're not missing out on anything. Besides, there are far more interesting things around here than this dartboard. More interesting than a dartboard? This day just gets better and better. Then follow me. Where are we off to? What is it they say? Show, don't tell. Where are you off to? This isn't our final destination. I have something cooler to show you. If you're talking about what's at the end of that catwalk, I've been there before. I came in that way, actually. The catwalk's not interesting. Then where are you going? Going down. You think you're funny? Often. But you know when you just want to eject yourself from a conversation? When you find yourself in a social situation you can't wait to get out of? Wow, rude. No, I never get the chance to make those big dramatic exits I'm always dreaming about. Sometimes you gotta just seize the moment or whatever. You'd rather make a dramatic exit than keep talking? I allow myself to do it sometimes, as a treat. So what now? Making a grand exit wasn't the only reason I jumped down here. So that stunt wasn't the main attraction? You want something interesting, I'm just trying to deliver. You can jump down. I don't have a feet of an athlete. Bend your knees when you land. It'll soften the impact. Soften the landing. The impact force will travel from your feet through your hip bone. You're real eloquent when you've got a captive audience, aren't you? Yes, young cricket. Don't lock your knees. The more you say, the less inclination I have to listen. You talk in paragraphs, my dude. Whatever. Hup. My method works. Ah, robot. Oh, what's this little guy doing here? These are the little wait bots that make up for the lack of employees in the cafe. They're all different. I love it. Do you think it climbed down here on its own? It's not outside the realm of possibility. I wouldn't bother it. Just try and stop me. Beep. We probably shouldn't mess with it. You sure? Someone probably left it here for a reason, and now they're gonna come look for it and find out someone's booped it. How would you feel if you were booped by a giant fleshy creature? What? I'm just saying, this is a weird spot to find a robot. It might have been put here to do a specific job. I think it's bored. Can we take it with us? I really think we shouldn't. Oh no, fine. Oh, excuse me. Is this what you wanted to show me? Nah, this is still the journey. Oh, cool. We'll get there soon enough. Is it safe for us to be down here? Does it matter? We're young. Indestructible. What, because we're young we have to take risks? If the danger exists, I simply close my eyes and pretend not to see it. But for real though, I don't think there's anything down here that hasn't already been stripped for parts. So we probably won't trip into a giant shredder or something. or be crushed by giant bouncing logs. If I see one coming, I will pretend that I don't, so you can enjoy the surprise. You're so thoughtful. Come on. Last one, there's a rotten egg. You don't even know where we're going. Watch your step, you don't want to trip. Didn't you just say something about ignoring danger? I mean, I'm not an idiot. Could have fooled me? Rude. Actually, given the amount of jagged, rusted metal I'm seeing around here, we should probably be at least a little careful. Anna? Oh, jeez. What are you doing up there? Be careful. Looks safe to me. You never know what could be unstable or ready to collapse. Ha, I just looked in the mirror for that. Okay, but for real, why'd you bring me here if you're just gonna chaperone me to death? We're not at our final destination yet. Oh, then what are we hanging around here for? Whee! What's so dangerous around here? Jagged, rusted metal, tetanus probably. It's not going to poke through your shoes, hopefully, but try not to land on it with your face. Noted. Am I being too much? I should note that at this point I'm very bad at evaluating risk. Wow, really? Shouldn't have followed you down here. I'm going to have double tetanus by the time we leave. Not aiming for triple tetanus? I try to keep my expectations modest. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Side story is longer than I thought it was going to be. Spooky. If this is meant to be more interesting, I have bad news for you. This hallway tells its own story. Well, it's too dark to read. There's just nothing happening here. Why hasn't anyone taken the time to make this place nicer? Maybe the interior designer was into rustic industrial. There's no accounting for taste. What a cop-out. There's no accounting for taste. Hey, the human mind is complex. How am I supposed to know? The human mind is complex. Okay, Einstein. Well, actually, Einstein was primarily a physicist, not a neuroscientist. Wow, you must kill at parties. Yeah, chicks dig me. I guess I can see it. Careful, don't hurt yourself. Do I look like someone who's worried about hurting himself? You look more like one of those tour guys who has to walk backwards everywhere. They're not known for being prone to accidents, are they? Hey, you never know. I had this friend who was touring uni campuses. This guy was so distracted by walking and talking that he toppled right into a fountain. And what's more... Womp womp. Don't say you told me so. I shouldn't laugh, but well, here we are. Laughing at you. Great job, little buddy. Can I pet this one? Yeah, I guess. Aw, what's a shake? Why did you do that? Why did I do what? Tell me it was okay to pet him. I thought you wanted to pet him. Yeah, I want to, but I wasn't asking for your permission. You just seemed really bothered when I said not to touch them. The other times, I mean, I didn't need your permission. I was asking your opinion. You know, since you seem to be such an expert on this place. Like, hey, any risk associated with what I'm about to do, help me make an informed decision. So I imagine my utter shock when I actually listened to you for once and really got bitten for my troubles. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. Ellipses. I didn't want to disappoint you by saying it was a bad idea. Stop being a coward. Tell me what you think, not what you think I want to hear. I'm sorry. You're forgiven. That little milk bottle shit isn't. Pinching bastard. Hey, that little milk bottle shit tripped me first. Yeah, and it was hilarious. Well, I hope you've at least learned the dangers of backwards walking and talking. I have, but how about you? Definitely not. Ladies and Hannah, we've reached the final step of this nondescript hallway. You're really gonna keep saying nondescript, Mr. Doesn't Own a Thesaurus? Dull, sterile, boring. Boom! There's no better adjective in my nondescript opinion. Ever read any Lovecraft? Half his monsters are so scary that his narrators couldn't describe them. He really took the easy route with that one. Who did? Lovecraft. Wait, that was his real name? Yeah. No wonder he was like that. What else would a guy with that name be known for? Crafting. Love. You got me. They emerged into a storeroom, shelves stacked with dusty jars full of mysterious glowing liquids. Hannah wondered briefly if any of their contents were edible. Huh, why are these all way out here? Try reading the labels. I can't read whatever language that is. It's Latin. Casual flex there, smarty pants. I have an ad hoc understanding of Latin words, phrases, etc. I'm gonna kick your ass, and you would be well justified in doing so. How long were you gonna hold on to that hilarious Latin joke for? Since I read it on the internet. I want to understand lyrics of One Winged Angel, so I was doing a bit of research. Latin nerds love their wordplay. Can you actually read any of these labels? None of them say Sephiroth, so no. All I can tell you is that if you see Memento Mori, you probably shouldn't drink it. Is that the Latin word for poison? Remember your mortality. Oh, I'm very aware of my mortality, thanks. So why the obsession with this particular song? It's from a video game. One you play with your friends. Nah, single player. I'm not good at connecting with my peers. And I thought you were connecting pretty well. You think we're peers? Because it appears you're out of my league. Ah, shucks. It's true. 3 cheers for low standards. Anna's eyes sparkled when she laughed, and for once Tuan struggled to feel anything but warm. Yo, check that one out. I told you already, I can't read it. Yeah, but look at it. Looks like there's something trapped inside. Creepy. Should we do something about it? Why are you asking me? Whatever is in it wants to get out. I'm not sure it's a good idea to mess with this stuff. What if it's a genie or something? Oh no, is that the sound of impending litigation? I guess I can't stop you either way. Ooh. Thank you. A warm glow suffused them both, then in a heartbeat was gone. Did you hear that? I think so. You think we should have... You think we did something we shouldn't have? We? 2 hands touched that jars, and they were both yours. You were at least an accomplice. I get the feeling we unleashed something. I get the impression as well. Was it a mistake? It was going to shatter on the ground anyways. I don't really think we changed the outcome of the situation. Well, even if we did set an evil spirit free, I'm glad we came. I'm glad we came here too. You ever get the feeling like you've already committed to a decision, but you're not sure yet if it'll lead to something great or something painful? Are we still talking about the jar? Yes, definitely. Let's get a move on. Sure, our final destination's right through here. Oh, train station. Tuan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Afraid of heights? I think it's perfectly natural to be a bit spooked when you're confronted with something that could be lethal. Lethal? Nothing to be afraid of. Scared me for a sec there, hotshot. Oh yeah? He felt an absence when she withdrew her hand. When I thought to myself, I hope he wasn't falling for me. This wasn't exactly what I had in mind. But, like, that doesn't seem pleasant. The fall, I mean. Why jump if you don't have to? The gut-wrenching fear only lasts a few seconds. You get used to it. I can only imagine. What I don't want to know is why you felt compelled to do it in the first place. I just wanted to feel something. Sometimes horror movies just aren't enough. I get it. Yeah, it's just, you know, like I said earlier, better to feel something than nothing sometimes. Is that downtown? I think so. But I don't really catch a train into town that often. I don't recognize anything specific, but the Yar is there, so the rest of the city must be too. Reckon anyone can see us from down there? Dunno. Oh, my game froze. Hold on. Come on, baby. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Come on. Come on. City looks so different from up here. Yeah. It feels lived in. Most cities do. That's why they're cities. People live there. But some cities just seem sterile, you know? Housing estates and golf courses and toll roads on a grid. Everyone commuting to their office job in a skyscraper. It's the same as all the other ones. This one's pretty to look at. Is it safe to sit there? Look, I can step off this platform. It'd be crazy for me to be... If I can step off this platform, it would be crazy for me to be shy about letting my legs dangle over the edge. Sitting here like this reminded Tuan of being 7 and swinging his legs daringly over a balcony's edge with his friends. They got yelled at for it because it was dangerous, but the association stuck. It had been a long time since he'd felt so carefree. At a glance, Melbourne's sprawl seemed vivid and meticulously detailed. The more he tried to pick out individual features, the more his vision blurred. From up here, everything ran together like unmixed paint. Everything was just an indistinct part of a larger whole. I thought I'd be able to see my house from here, but I can't. Actually, I can't recognize anything. I know it's Melbourne, but it feels like a dream. Do you think we're dreaming? I think I might be. You could be a figment of my imagination. Ha! I was thinking it was the other way around. I suppose it's all about perspective. Considering how many dreams end with the sensation of falling, this is certainly an appropriate place for it to end. I don't really want it to. Me neither. If you brought me here for us to stare long into each other's eyes, we could have just stayed in the down the cafe. I'm just enjoying the view. Very funny. So when you're going to hurry up and make a move? Aww. What took you so long? Far easier to say something clever than to say something sincere. Oh. I lied to you earlier. About what? Remember when I told you about my mom's leukemia diagnosis? I was 13 years old, my dad left because of it. Yeah, I remember. It wasn't the whole truth. She wasn't the one who got the diagnosis. This hair isn't mine. 6 months of chemo wasn't kind to me. I felt like a fraud every time I wore someone else's hair, so I bought this from a costume shop. If I was going to lie to the world about having hair, it might as well be something dazzling. Can you say something, please? I guess it's not a surprise. You only make fun of people when it's trivial stuff. I started cracking wise about cancer. I started getting the inkling that it wasn't about someone else. That obvious, huh? Not at first. But I feel like I've gotten to know you well enough by now. I interrupted something. Yeah. I was going to... I know. If you still want to, Sorry, mood's dead. My fault. Need to reset the scene. How about we go for a walk? I think that'd help. As the last vestiges of the terminal faded into the distance, Tuan realized they were entering a world of their own construction. There were no rules here. They were well and truly free from everything else. He didn't know what they were walking towards. But in the end, did it really even matter? Bench. Bench at night with train. Oh, there they are. For a fleeting moment, Tuan felt oddly at peace despite everything. Hannah had trusted him with her true self. With affirmation came fear. Fear of what came next, the moment after that, and the one after that. He closed his eyes, suddenly finding it hard to breathe. Hannah's gentle touch on his back pulled him back into reality. Are you okay? I'm fine. It's just an anxiety attack. Don't worry about me. Just? Was it the height from sitting on the edge? No, that never happens when I'm there. Never. It's only when everything's fine, when everything's safe. Because when everything's good, I know it only takes one bad moment to bring the whole house of cards crashing down. Was it what I said before? Not what you said. What I didn't say. What didn't you say? I knew. I've known cosplayers. I can recognize a good wig. You knew? Yeah. I wouldn't have had the courage to keep talking to you otherwise. The best friendships I've ever had are the ones with a built-in expiration date. Yeah. Okay. I think I get it now. All Tuan saw in her eyes was betrayal. Is that what I am to you? A girl with an expiration date? It's not you, it's me. I'm so used to people being transient in my life. It wasn't so scary to talk to you if... I'm sorry. I brought you here because I wanted you to feel normal for just one night. I wanted that too. To leave everything behind and feel normal. Even if only for a few hours. And I did. Thank you. Hannah. Tuan felt something teetering on the brink of something. What was she feeling? The same dread? The same longing? Tuan felt Hannah shaking in his arms, hot tears soaking through the fabric of his shirt. But not just her tears. He realized he was crying with her. Tuan wished a train would pull up to the platform to whisk them away so they'd never have to return home. He knew Hannah felt the same way, but that's not how life worked. Are you ready? As long as it's with you, just don't let go. Hannah's fingers dug into his skin in the first terrifying seconds. He couldn't blame her. Upside down, falling like a rock towards the center of Melbourne, Tuan saw something new in Hannah's eyes. It seemed as though the wind had stolen their words, leaving only silence. They walked in lockstep, each dragging their feet. I don't think we can walk any slower. Try me. I can do this all day. You came out tonight looking for something very specific. Yeah. I'm not sure that's me. I think it might be. But if it's not, I guess I'm okay with that too. At first glance, Tuan had thought the shelves and jars were just thrown together afterthoughts, nothing more than a forgotten mess. But now I realized that each jar seemed perfectly created for its contents, as if they were made for each other. Hannah seemed far away, perhaps also thinking of the jars. Or perhaps it's something else entirely. You think I'm carrying around a lot of pain, don't you? Ellipses. Hard not to after all this. But it's not you. I've been thinking about myself. I assume you're carrying a lot of pain, not because you did anything to make me think that. It's just easier to cope when I assume everyone else is going through the same stuff as I am. As I said, I reckon I figured out something about you. You like me. No way! I thought this hand-holding business was strictly platonic. I want my money back. I just gave you a new piece of information, you dingus. Why? Did you expect me to do some flowery I like you anyway speech? Because that's not really my thing. You've got baggage. It's part of who I am. You don't get to pick and choose, and that's okay. I like you. I like all of you, Hannah. Every little thing that's ever happened to you has shaped you into the person standing next to me, and I really, really like that person. You're right, I don't get to pick and choose. So when I say I like all of you, I want you to know that I mean it. You're not the first person who's ever told me something like that before, but you're the first person I believed. That's the worst way to lie to someone, is to tell them what you think they want to hear. Yeah, you get it. Are you ready to do this? I'm ready as long as you're doing it with me. Then don't let go. Tuan waited for the moment he knew was coming. for Hannah's form to fade, as all spirits did upon leaving the terminal. But the moment never came, and when she was there on the other side, and there she was on the other side, her warm fingers intertwined with his. Are you? I'm still here. I go in for my last round of chemo tomorrow. So are you gonna hurry up and kiss me already? Aww. That was nice. I'm glad we did that. Oh, more Beth. Beth swung her knife in a horizontal slice and the crowd let out an ooh. Not too loud, she said. Her eyes were fixed on Kyle, but she was speaking to the crowd. Last thing we want is someone coming down here investigating a noise complaint. She heard a few grumbles in the crowd, but they quieted themselves. Everyone understood her meaning. Playing with real knives in this manner was the kind of thing that was strictly verboten, and no one wanted to be on the wrong side of Maddie's bad mood. Even those who didn't fear death quaked in their boots at a bit of the prospect of Maddie's wrath. She made a few more horizontal slices of her blade, cutting the air. It was the kind of thing people did to warm up the crowd, but Beth was unconcerned with what people thought about how she fought. Her movements with the knife were the only practice she was going to get with this knife, and she did her best to memorize the feel of the blade as it cut through the air. It was a terrible knife for a fight like this. A serrated edge. It was designed for ripping and tearing cooked meat that was still on a plate, not fresh meat that was attached to a body prepared to evade its cuts. This was an entirely different kind of knife fight than the one before. When playing with practice knives, the goal was to strike the opponent in the torso. When playing with live knives, common etiquette dedicated that stabs the softer parts of the torso like the chest or the stomach, stabs that were most likely to be immediately fatal to a normal person, were strictly against the rules. In this battle, the goal was simply to draw blood. A cut to the arm or the leg would do. Kyle was the first to make a move. He tried to feign to the right before hopping back to his left foot and swinging at her, but he made such an obvious show of telegraphing the attack that Beth had stepped out of his way well before his attack came. Kyle grinned. I guess I'm not going to outsmart you. Beth kept her steely gaze trained on Kyle's right hand, the one that held the knife. Well, he said, I guess I'll just have to outspeed you. This time he stabbed straight forward with the thrust of his arm. It was the first time he made an attack without fully committing to it by moving his feet. Beth had been afraid he might try this. Kyle was nearly half a meter taller than her, and he had finally figured out that his longer arms gave him a tremendous advantage against Beth in her shorter reach. The stab was directed at her shoulder, and she managed to duck out of the way fast enough, but there was no time for her to offer a counterswing before Kyle pulled back and stabbed again, this time attempting to strike at where her arm had been had she not moved just a moment sooner. Beth backed up, giving Kyle space and hoping to bait him into making a bigger attack, but he seemed content to continue attempting the one attack that had come close to working for him. Excuse me. As she stepped back, he stepped forward, and only after playing both feet did he go for another stab. There was nothing Beth could do but step back, giving him even more space to maneuver, all the while becoming increasingly aware of how close her back was coming to the wall behind her. She needed to do something to throw him off balance and find a way to reset. She stepped back to the side, forcing Kyle's next attack to a horizontal arc that reached her, and as soon as she saw the blade coming, she swung her own blade. She heard the metal ting, metal hitting metal, as the two blades made contact, and the serrated edge of Kyle's knife hit the smooth edge of hers. I stayed like that for about half a second, as Beth kept forcing Kyle's knife to the side, and with their knives still locked, she strafed around him until her back was no longer against the wall, placing the two of them on equal footing. This would never happen in a real knife fight, Beth thought to herself. She had been saved only by the serrated edge of Kyle's knife. He grinned, apparently enjoying the moment. Yes, Kyle. We're doing it just like in the movies. I know that when you think of a knife fight, you think of two swords or two Jedi facing each other with blades locked. But it's not supposed to go like this, and right now you're about to lose the biggest edge you had. She finally slid her knife out of the lock, releasing Kyle, who seemed completely oblivious to the fact that their footing had changed. He was so bad at this that he didn't even have an awareness for what it meant to have her with her back against the wall. But what Kyle lacked in brains, he made up for in physical size. And Beth was still left with the problem of how to get around his reach. Kyle was doing too good a job of controlling the space between them. She couldn't go straight for his chest like she had before. Not that she intended to strike him in the chest. She hadn't forgotten the rules. His reach made it equally difficult to go around him. Going over him was certainly out of the question, which meant that her opening would have to be from underneath. A stab to the groin would certainly be against the spirit of the rules, but she might be able to get a good shot at his legs if she got close enough to the floor. But there's no way to get under his arms from a standing position. If she was going to attempt a leg strike, she'd have to commit to it. She needed to create an opening. She feigned sideways towards the wall. Unlike Kyle's attempts at a feint, Beth's move to the left served the dual function of placing her weight in a perfect position to push off her left foot, moving right when Kyle moved left. She made as if to swing at him from the right, which prompted Kyle to stab in that direction. And with his body moving left and his arm moving right, the reach of his arm was effectively reduced. Reduced enough for her to slide under it? There was only one way to find out. She bent her knees, falling forward like a sprinter leaning forward on the starting blocks. There it was. He was twisted to the right, reflexively trying to kick at her, allowing her to lunge forward and place her leg directly in the path of his swinging leg. He was grunting. "Whoa!" He let out a panic yelp. No, he wasn't twisting. He was falling. With the way her knife was pointed up, it was positioned to anchor itself directly into his belly if he fell on top of her. She reflexively tossed the knife aside, hearing clatter to the floor as Kyle's weight came down on top of her. His tumbling knees struck her directly below the chest, and she felt herself falling back, her head falling to the floor until the moment she felt the impact of the ground on the back of her head and everything went black. Oh no, poor Beth. I hope she's okay. No more stories. Let's see. Nothing over here. Can't go down there, fortunately. Alright, let's check out this axe, because I think that's the last story. Perfectionist. Maddie studied the gentleman at the counter as he raised his glass appraisingly. Her eyes narrowed at the drink in his hand as he took a sip. There's something in the way the man carried himself that irritated Maddie. She was irritated, not mad. Nothing he had done was rude or otherwise improper. If anything, the fact that bothered her was the fact that he seemed too proper. The way his hand rested on the counter felt very deliberate. There was nothing lazy about the way he sat, perfectly upright, or what he did with his hands, one on the glass, the other resting deliberately on the brim of the top hat he had placed on the counter when he walked in. "No," he said, "I'm afraid that's not it." He set the glass down. "Was that better or worse than the previous one?" said Maddie. "Closer, I think, said the man, but it's hard to tell. You just know it when you taste it, you know?" "Yeah," said Maddie, "I know." She picked up the whiskey bottle and began pouring another drink, this time 7 parts whiskey to 4 parts water. She was using the glass that she discreetly marked with measuring points, and she was confident she was pouring to within a centiliter of precision. She slid the glass over to him. "Try this one," she said. "That's still not it," said the man. "It's a fine drink, though. I'll gladly finish it." "Let's try it one more time," said Maddie. I assure you, this is a fine drink," said the gentleman. "What I experienced in London was, I'm sure, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It would be completely unreasonable for me to expect you to replicate it here. A good enough drink is perfectly good enough." Something the way he said good enough made her feel less willing to give up the fight. She grabbed the whiskey bottle and was about to begin pouring it again when she felt a tap on her shoulder. "Che." "Can I have a word with you?" said Che. "Shoot. In back," said Che. Maddie followed Che into the kitchen. "You've got to stop trying to make the perfect water mix," said Che. "You're not cracking some code here. What that guy considers the perfect whiskey is not going to be some perfect formula that will work for everyone from here until the end of eternity. Different people have different tastes." "I'm aware of that," said Maddie. "So why won't you give it up?" "Because I want to make him the perfect drink," said Maddie. "He already got the perfect drink in London 20 years ago," said Che. "And every day that passes just makes the memory of that drink more and more unrealistically impressive." "I know," said Maddie. "That's why I have to make the perfect drink." "I don't understand," said Che. "Che, that perfect drink in London 20 years ago, that one that he still remembers to this day as the best drink of his life, people are supposed to have memories about this place. This is where it's all supposed to come together. And that's why you can't back down?" I can back down, but I'll find it very hard to forgive myself if I do, said Maddie. Can I tell you a story? Said Shay. Is the story going to suck? You won't know until I tell it. Sounds like a good reason not to tell it then, said Maddie, crossing her arms. I used to be a logger, said Shay. You worked with lumber? You never told me that. I just tell you what I worked a lot of odd jobs, said Shay, and I figured that alone would be enough to communicate that I'm full of anecdotes about a large variety of subjects, even after you've known me for many, many years. I've lived a lot longer than I've known you, so it's not like I could convey everything I've ever experienced in the time I've known you. En contraire, said Maddie. Conversation allows you to compress experiences. You can compress an entire day into an answer to the question, so what did you do today? You're right, said Shay, but I don't like reducing big experiences to short, pithy statements about what I've done. I already feel dirty about just saying I used to be a logger, because there's so much more to the experience than the job title. And I'd like to tell you more about being a logger, if you'll let me. All right, said Maddie, tell me about being a logger. I was a logger for 2 weeks back in... Wait, 2 weeks? You were a logger for 2 weeks? That sounds to me like you were a non-logger who engaged in logging activity for 2 weeks. Logger is a title. You have to earn that shit. Alright, said Shay. Point is, I learned a thing or two about logging. A thing or two, and probably not much else if it was only 2 weeks. You're right, said Shay. Luckily, I only need to tell you one thing. Oh boy, said Maddie. I can hardly wait. What's the one worthwhile thing you learned about logging during those 2 weeks? When you're cutting away at a tree, you actually have to cut away a lot of wood in order to weaken enough to fell it. That is, you're not merely cutting a gap in the tree. You're actually removing the part of the tree to weaken it. Yeah, I kind of figured, said Maddie. That's why partially cut trees have a notch in them. The logger always just has to keep making the notch bigger until the tree collapses. What's your lesson? You're not acting like yourself, said Shay. On the contrary, said Maddie. I'm behaving exactly like myself, and that seems to bother you. Shay grimaced. You're right. Can we still play as being teacher and student? Maddie sighed and put her back against the wall, looking down. Yeah, all right, said Shay. He did his best to grin. Maddie gestured for him to go on. You were saying about cutting trees? All right. Right, said Shay. You need to create a notch. But to create the notch, you're removing part of the tree. You're taking a chip out of it. Uh-huh. It's really easy to get caught up in that when it's happening, said Shay. When chips are flying everywhere, the last thing you want to focus on is that big tree that's just standing there. You see a chip flying off somewhere in your eyes, and more importantly, your attention naturally want to follow to see where it lands. And that's when you start to miss with your swings. The secret to logging is that you can't pay too much attention to the chips. Some of the chips are going to land at your feet, and some of them are going to fly off and harmlessly hit you in the chest, and others are going to disappear from your field of view. But you just have to focus on the tree. Focus on the impact you're making, not the trees. That's the secret of it. You need to focus on the big goal. Thank you for sharing the secret of logging with me, said Maddie. Though I can't be too well kept a secret if it's knowledge shared by people with only 2 weeks of experience. So is that it? Said Maddie. That's it, said Shay. That's a story about how you may just have to let the chips fall where they may. Thanks for that bit of folksy wisdom, said Maddie. I'm saving the pretentious wisdom for another day, said Shay. Very thin line between folksy and pretentious when you're acting like a genius rather than discovering the etymology of common idioms, said Maddie. That reminds me of a story about wire walking, said Shay. I'm glad, said Maddie. Maybe I'll even hear that story someday. She stepped out of the kitchen before Shay could continue. Maddie returned to the counter. How's that whiskey? She asked. Best thing to happen to me all day, said the gentleman. You can say that this glass of whiskey is the thing that made my day. Thanks, said Maddie. That's all I needed to hear. I like this game. It has good writing. Alright. I'm probably not going to play for too much longer, but we'll at least get to the Teen Transient. Did we read this one? I feel like we did. Oh yeah, we read this one already. Never mind. Alright. I'll play a little bit of the next section. Around like 9:30ish, I might call it quits. We'll see. Ooh, dank. Day 2, 8:15 p.m. Outside the terminal. Gah. I don't have the energy for this. Energy. Maddie's been running on empty for several days now. especially with everyone watching me. Ellipses. I hope he packed enough conductors. My order form was pretty vague. I shouldn't be worrying about the conductors when I'm not even sure I can pull the whole thing off without some sort of major screw-up happening. Supplier knew what I wanted the conductors for anyway, so he would have packed enough. A good supplier knows enough about their clients to anticipate their needs. There's a certain amount of nosiness that is polite, after all. And he knows that I've got Ashley helping me. Helping you with what, Madeline? Piss off, Ned. Rude. Just following her along. You should respect your elders, you know. Ned is not a young man, even by the standards of semi-mortals. God, listen to you. The council made you soft, didn't it? Ellipses. Oh, respect your elders. Follow all our totally arbitrary rules or make up some cheap reason to destroy your business. My name's Ned, and I love rules. You done? Yep. Cool. You sound wounded. A steel chestplate could save you from a bleeding heart, but not a bruised ego. You should be nicer. Wow, sick comeback. What is that guy you killed said? Oh Christ, I am shot. Oh no, woe is me. Just a little throwback humor for you. Did I strike a nerve? Ellipses. Did I just what? Maddie. When Ned spoke next, it was in a deep, dark candor steeped in guilt and self-loathing. If Maddie had been able to see his eyes, she would have faced a withering glare. We've rapidly reached a point of no return. I can no longer promise to shield you from the consequences of your actions. What you just did there, quoting one of my victim's dying words to me, that was low, even for you. Frankly, I'm disgusted. You dare poke at my guilt? You dare? Let's talk about guilt, shall we? I don't suppose you might have anything weighing on your conscience right now, would you? As I thought. They may still weigh heavily on me, but I am absolved of my sins. Some moral debts take a lifetime to work off. Ned's had more than a few lifetimes. I've had 100 years to process that and to redeem myself through my actions. Your sins are fresh. They're lance-marked on your soul, deep cut in your aura. Swallow your arrogance, novice. I know what you did. Many sins weigh heavily on Ned's mind. They weigh even heavier on hers. And I can't wait to see how you plan to make this right. Episode 5. Rainy Moods. That's a Pure Mood spinoff, isn't it? I like that. Day 2, 8:30 p.m. The Terminal. Tuan, age 16, thinks he's smart, not antisocial, just shy. Read a bunch of Wikipedia articles about optometry and considers himself somewhat of an expert. Hannah, age 16, knows she's too smart for her own good. Hobbies, people watching, self-indulgent teenage angst, taking advantage of the fact that she's too smart for her own good. So I'm not sure that alcohol actually makes you feel anything. In fact, going by its chemical properties, I'd say it's the opposite. Shut up, dork. We're planning a heist. Metaphysical debates about alcohol can come after. But this isn't metaphysics. I'm just talking about simple chemical interactions with our brains. Tuan is a guy who has the look of someone who knows more about chemical interactions than human interactions. High school. Please take the energy you're putting into Pendantry and redirect it towards the plan. Hannah's too busy with physical shenanigans to have time for verbal shenanigans. The plan? The plan! What's the plan? I was thinking I could just reach over the bar and grab the first bottle I see. Sounds risky. Very chaotic, neutral. What's your alignment, then? Neutral good? I'd say I was lawful neutral, but that's the coward's option. Yeah. But getting back to the plan. Oh, using your own Pendantry to distract you was absolutely part of the plan. Wow, so little faith in me? Gotta minimize liabilities here. Hannah's still learning to trust this guy. He doesn't have the look of an interloper, but you can never be too safe. You're out here playing checkers while I'm playing 6-dimensional upside-down laser chess. Shit. I'm Galaxy Brain this, and now I'm holding the fruits of my labor. Don't you mean our labor? If you insist. Give me a closer look at that. What sort of fruit did we pluck from the booze tree? Really stretching out that metaphor, huh? Yep. I don't recognize the language on this label. What? Let me look. What the hell? I don't recognize it either. Maybe it's a cipher. A cider is made for fermented apple juice. A cipher is made for fermented word juice. What would make you read a cipher just to know what you're drinking, a sadist? Oh, we could ask Maddie what this is. She's a sadist, right? What do you call someone who enjoys the emphatic pain they feel from hurting others? Yeah, that idea sounds great. Let's go find her. Apart from the fact that we specifically nicked it from her. Oh, right. You're meant to be the lawful one here, dude. We agreed on neutral good. Me not challenging your assertion does not make it an agreement. Regardless. Wait, hold on. I sense a dark presence. Do you feel it? No, I don't feel anything particularly spooky in the air. Yeah, me neither. Ah! She got me. Ah! Hello, children. I see you've stooped to petty thievery. Some balls in that shelf are old enough that swiping them would be an act of grand theft. Not this one, however. Yes, wait till the future where Amon plays actual horror games and you can hear me yelp because I startle very easily. It will be very funny, except maybe for me. Alas, sprung. Can't believe my heist career was over so quickly. Don't give up on your dreams, kid. Speaking of which, do you know what happens when you drink this? I'm assuming some sort of drunkenness. Does it make your teeth fall out? Well, last time I had a shot of this, I woke up in Adelaide. Wow. So the result was several hundred kilometers worth of drunkenness and bad decisions. But I woke up 6 hours before I took the shot. Had to drive a rent-a-car back and explain to Che why I disappeared without trace and accidentally time traveled. Holy shit, can we give it a try? God, no. You ever heard of liquor licensing laws? I'd end up in jail. I think it'd be an excellent formative experience. Yeah, if you're not perpetuating teen drinking culture, you're a loser. Grr. Somehow I remain unconvinced by your passionate arguments. Well, we tried. You kids have way too much time on your hands, you know that? Better than not enough, right? I'm using my skills my time to practice my skills. It is not wasted. Well, the non-existent industry sector that relies solely on the skills of reaching over bars and stealing bottles of enchanted booze is going to be lucky to have you. Aw, that's so validating. Thanks. Sigh. Can I get you to a coffee or anything? Hot chocolate? I'm kind of busy tonight, but I'm hoping that bribing you with free drinks will stop you from nicking my shit. I'll take a free drink. I feel guilty taking one since it was all Twan's idea. Hey! But I'll graciously accept your offer. Neat, what'll it be? Hot chocolates for both of us? Ellipses. Hot chocolates for both of us. Alright, 2 hot chocolates coming up. Seriously, don't steal anything else when my back's turned or I'll feed you to a spite elemental. I wonder. Spite elemental. Maybe it's a metaphor. Is she saying she'll eat us? Is she the spite elemental? Oh no. Maybe the real spite elementals are the friends we made along the way? I hate this. Fair. Ooh, boots. Oh no. Samantha. Age 32. American, question mark? Visiting Melbourne for work. Devastatingly patient. Trust me, you kids don't want me to spite elemental. Have you? Yep. Got pretty close to not making it out alive. I guess you're in a fairly exciting line of work then? This woman's line of work might seem intriguing to someone looking in from the outside, but to her, it's all business. Like that lady from that one anime who asks business or pleasure and just responds, combat. It gets that way sometimes. The spite elementals aren't exciting. They're terrifying. They suck all the air out of a room and make the world ache. And they don't die easy. Huh? That's kind of metal. You sure do need brass balls to face one down, that's for sure. And a steely gaze. What? Because steel is a metal, and I said it was metal, and you mentioned brass balls, so... Hannah, please back me up. Nope, you brought this on yourself, mate. No. Nah, she's totally right. Arrgh! What's going on here? You bullying my customers, Samantha? Oh, of course not. Good, because that's my job. You two should go enjoy the evening. There's a nice breeze blowing. It's nighttime on the internet. You remember my name? That's sweet. Sweet isn't a word that people often use to describe Maddie. That's the kind of remark that says more about the person who's talking than the person they're talking about. Of course I did. You're interesting. Doesn't that describe everyone who walks through your doors, though? Absolutely not, especially not in the way that you are. Some people would take offense at that. Your boss, must be very different from mine. Well, my old boss, I guess. I'm my own boss now, actually. Maddie thinks she can make it all on her own. She might just turn out to be right. Apologies, your approach to hospitality work is very different from what I'm used to, is what I'm saying. Figures. Where'd you work? I just some dive bar overseas. A wretched hive of scum and villainy. The owners would never shut up about treating every client like royalty. Sounds like a pain in the arse, if you ask me. I'm not asking, actually, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. Ellipses. So, can I get you anything? Surprise me. What, you'd like me to pick you something? Yeah. Mind if I ask you a couple questions? Are they related to the drink? Yep. Shoot. Okay, what's your favorite white wine? You're not making me a wine cocktail, are you? Haha, no. I'm partial to a glass of Marsanne every now and then. Fancy. Next question. Have you ever read a star chart? Like an astrology? No. Why? I don't put any stock in mysticism. Hey, this place isn't mystical. To some people, this place seems otherworldly. For others, this is just the world they live in. It's built of cold, hard facts. I just don't know them all yet. Alright, fair enough. Last question. You're walking in the shallows of an ocean that seems to go into the distance forever. You can't see any land aside from the sand under your feet. Whenever you step forward, the sand sinks just a little bit. As far as you can see, there's no way to escape. Drowning is the only possible outcome. What do you do? Wow, I feel like you're about to pull out a Voight Kampf machine or something. It's obviously some sort of test. I run, I swim, I dive when I can. And if I eventually drown, so be it. There's nowhere to go and no point in sitting waiting for starvation or sharks or someone to save me. I have to take action. Interesting. So what's the verdict? Samantha didn't get a response. Maddie's eyes had glazed over as soon as she'd asked that last question, and now she stood perfectly still, gazing intensely at the rows and rows of dusty bottles lining dustier shelves. Her lips moved, but no words came out. As Samantha watched, a flask of red liquid switched, seemingly of its own accord. Maddie craned her neck up at it and scowled. In response, a smaller bottle, next to the first, and surely only big enough to hold a few drops of something, began to glow. Her scowl shifted to a wry smile. Please, you don't need to open anything new on my account. Gotcha. Your answers were interesting. Coming from some people, that might sound like a non-committal remark, but coming out of Maddie, it might be the most effusive praise you ever get. So were your questions. I'm still having a little trouble figuring out how they relate to each other, though. Is that important? I try to maintain a vague hope that maybe one day things might make sense. And until then, I just try to go with the flow, of course. Heh. Sorry for trying to psychoanalyze you there. Try. Do you think you failed? Ellipses. No. What's the verdict then? Well, for one, you tend to accept things as you see them. You don't try to interpret things based off of unrelated frameworks or thought patterns. That said, you do try and make sense of the connections between things when you can. Maddie's pretty sure she has all the pieces. She's found that putting all the pieces together requires a bit more effort. But that's no big deal to you if you don't. You just mark it as an unknown variable and move on. And that reads to me as an intensely pragmatic approach. Would you agree? I suppose. You're the sort who doesn't buy drinks to enjoy them. You buy them as camouflage. If you're experienced with pretending to be something you're not in order to blend in, you might develop a talent for recognizing when others are trying to do the same thing. To hide your face behind. To project a veneer of being untouchable while you watch. Watch what? Everything, I suppose. You take everything in the same way I do. So you're saying that I'm attentive, but that I don't worry about instantly understanding how things are interconnected. Because you're confident that eventually you'll understand it all anyway. How do you figure that? You've been watching my hands this whole time. Is that weird? To watch an attractive bartender mixing a very fancy-looking cocktail? To appreciate a craft? No. Well, given just how interested you are in what my hands are doing, I wager you've got some experience in my field. So are you just really bad at picking up on what you're being flirted with, or... It's fine, sweetie. In fact, it's pretty cute. I meant in alchemy! The field of alchemy! Uh-huh. I'm sure you're very accomplished in alchemy. Just take the drink. Ellipses. Shit, this is really good. Yeah? Too good to ignore it, yeah. It's smoky, but bittersweet, and it's the contrast of the bitters that really makes you appreciate the sweetness. Or is it the other way around? Almost makes me feel like I'm reaching the end of something. Like I've got a lump in my throat from saying goodbye. But I can't quite tap into that feeling. Like, what did you even put in this? Mezcal, artichoke bitters, goldheart bitters, and a slice of gorilla lime. Gorilla lime? That can't be a real thing. It's just hard to acquire. Call that because if you bite into one, it feels like you got punched by a gorilla. Physically? No, emotionally. Ah, makes sense. I am not a wizard. Prove it! Arrgh. That guy, the boss you mentioned? Yeah. He good to you? I'm sorry? Does he treat you well? Yeah. To a fault, actually. For far past the point where it's rational for him to still be nice to me. No one's ever accused old Che of being rational. That doesn't stop him from trying to be the voice of reason. Good. Actually, I'm sorry, that reminds me I have to dash. Got some setup work for a project to finish before the sun comes up. Maddie's rarely engages in careless shenanigans, so when she is up to something, you'd best be on your guard. Gasp, but without you here, who will enable my latent alcoholism? You just reach over and grab the gin, tonics in the bar fridge. Will do. Come back soon, though. I'd love to discuss alchemy with you some more. Uh-huh. Catch you later. Wait, one last thing. What was the meaning behind the question about what wine I like? Oh, I was just curious. According to the clock, it is currently 9:40, so I think I'm going to call it a night since I don't know how much longer this section is going to go on for. So, thank you all for joining me. We will pick this up next week with more Dead Coffee Shop shenanigans. And I hope you all have a nice night. And I hope you all have a nice weekend. So I will see you all then. Thank you for the emoticon. I can't read very well, but thank you, Jackson. Yeah, you all have a nice night, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.